Hines, CEO of Leadership Victoria, and I'm delighted to be part of Volunteering Victoria's State Awards for 2020. 2020, what a year it's been. We've all heard the buzzwords associated with this year. Here's one of them, unprecedented. Is it unprecedented? There have been other pandemics, and certainly many Victorians and other vulnerable people around the world get their lives uprooted and turned around every day. You know this because many of you give your time and your know-how and your energy to supporting those very people. Some of you have been in those situations yourself. But yes, let's admit that for most of us, especially as a collective, as a state, this has been an unprecedented experience in our lifetimes. The uncertainty can feel debilitating and disorientating. Our emotions ride the COVID coaster. We see the way we live and work changing, the way we volunteer and give to others even, and we have limited control, if any, over those changes. We realise with a shock not to take anything for granted. Breakfast at a cafe, a cup of tea with a neighbour, a job, our health, a grandparent, our community. It's tough to even think about leading right now. Stepping up at a time like this, when even wearing work clothes rather than active wear seems like something to strive for. Is leadership even something we need to think about for ourselves? Isn't that the domain of the Premier at the daily press conference or our medical and research experts? Aren't they the ones that are meant to be coming up with the answers? A vaccine for uncertainty? Well, as the organisations nominated tonight show, and that means all the people that make up these organisations, leadership isn't just for authority figures and experts. It isn't even about a role or a position. Leadership is an activity, and it is one that you have the capacity to do anywhere and anytime. And many of you have been doing just that. Leadership isn't all grand gestures and sweeping reform. Leadership happens every day. And it starts with you as an individual, getting used to the idea of uncertainty and being open to trying things in new ways. Using Zoom for the first time. Finding new ways to connect when the familiar and cherished ways just aren't open to us. In the face of this unsettling series of challenges, with no clear pathways forward or known answers, you have been adapting, experimenting, learning, innovating, and problem solving. For many organisations, delivering services, supporting people in need, keeping a sense of community alive during this year would not have been possible without this adaptive mindset and the support of dedicated volunteers and volunteer programs. And while volunteering numbers and hours dropped, many organisations, such as those nominated tonight, were able to adapt to the changed environment in order to continue to support the Victorian community. And that brings me to another 2020 buzzword, pivot. Some of the organisations we are celebrating tonight have made a remarkable effort to redesign their work so they could still deliver in the face of changing COVID restrictions. They changed shift lengths, they sourced PPE, and like us at Leadership Victoria, moved delivery to online platforms. Others created new volunteer roles and programs to respond to emerging needs from the pandemic. They sought to address barriers to accessing telehealth and the challenges faced by international students. A response to obvious needs and a solution based on what was possible. Some of these innovations are likely to stay. That has certainly been our experience at Leadership Victoria. We all have discovered some tools and ideas that are actually useful, better even, that we are capable in ways we never imagined. So while the size and scope of this year's uncertainty and disruption are indeed unprecedented, they have really just made the obvious a fact of life. That to address need, to keep going, to try to make our organisations and our communities better, we always have to wrangle the uncertainty. In some form or another, it will always be there. Leadership, to a large extent, is an ongoing dance with the unknown, managing ourselves and energising those around you to keep trying new things, especially when the answers or way forward are not clear. And that brings me to a third 2020 buzzword, the new normal. Organisations such as those nominated tonight and other members of Volunteering Victoria are going to be integral in our recovery as a state. Not just from an economic perspective, but in terms of our health and well-being, our social fabric. Organisations like PANDA will play a strong role in supporting women and their families who are new or expecting parents. RDOC will continue to play a role in supporting children living in disadvantaged communities that will have experienced COVID in a different way to children from more affluent backgrounds. And the work of the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre will continue to provide support to people seeking asylum to maximise their physical, mental and social wellbeing. Indeed, the work of your organisations will become even more important as we learn to live with COVID and come to terms with the impact of the events of 2020 over time. We know from the recently released State of Volunteering in Victoria report that a huge number of Victorians volunteered their time pre-COVID, 41%, and that the value of volunteering equates to nearly $60 billion in Victoria, with a whopping net return of $3.70 on every dollar invested in the sector. This kind of social return on investment doesn't happen without the support, guidance, management and leadership of volunteers and their organisations. There have been some incredible acts of leadership during this time, and I, for one, am hoping that in the hurry to get back to the way things were, we don't lose the opportunity to rethink how we support Victorians in need and keep some of the innovations that were created in response to the pandemic. I'd like to finish by congratulating all of the winners of the awards today, the finalists and all of the volunteering involving organisations who have adapted to the changed circumstances this year. You have done a tremendous job and I wish you every success for 2021 and beyond. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Magic and I'm a Justice of the Peace.
Hi, I'm Kim McElhaney. I'm a Justice of the Peace.
COVID-19 turned the role of Justice of the Peace in Victoria upside down. Traditionally, a face-to-face activity, COVID restrictions meant that the community could no longer get their stat decks witnessed, their affidavits attested and sworn, or their powers of attorney witnessed. To help address this problem, the government passed temporary changes to the Oath and Affirmation Act to allow for online witnessing of the many, but not all, of these types of documents, witnessing and certification activities. The Royal Victorian Association of Honorary Justices stepped in quickly and at no cost to the community or the government, set in place solid processes and resources to help the community get their documents witnessed online quickly and easily. This service is called Online JP.
The results to date have been phenomenal. Users have been extremely happy with the service. It's easy and many documents have been able to be witnessed every day.
Well, I do think that the service that you've provided me, allowing me to get those documents certified with you online, has been invaluable because I would not have been able to go somewhere. My kid is with me full time because we have some people in the family that are very vulnerable to something like COVID. So we're not taking any risks. So I couldn't have done it.
I'm working remotely in a rural area, so it would have taken me half the day to get this done if I didn't have your services. So I'm most grateful for the ease with which you were able to take me through it.
It is incredible to think that a team of volunteers put this together in such a comprehensive online witnessing project with all the technology, the training and the marketing challenges in just a matter of weeks. They did this with the help of the community in this time of need due to COVID-19.
I'm Mark Pearce and I'm the CEO of Volunteering Australia. It's my great pleasure to announce the 2020 winner of the Innovation and Resilience Award. The winner of this award embraced technology during a really difficult time and developed an innovative solution to ensure that they were able to continue to deliver their essential community service. It's with great pleasure, therefore, that I announce that the 2020 winner of the Innovation and Resilience Award is the Royal Victorian Association of Honorary Justices. Congratulations.
The most challenging thing about delivering our Literacy Buddies program this year is that it was built on the premise of handwritten letters being exchanged between adult workplace volunteers and classes of students, as well as face-to-face visits at the school and the volunteers' workplace. We adapted in several ways. In some cases, the first letter exchange was a letter from the class teacher to the big buddies, describing life in lockdown and the experience of remote learning for students. Paper letters were no longer mailed. Instead, the handwritten letters were photographed or scanned by email and sent to ARDOC and exchanged between the big and little buddies this way.
Receiving the Literacy Buddy letters through lockdown was a really easy process. All students were so excited during lockdown to read their letters. It was probably their highlight of their whole lockdown, if I'm honest, in terms of their learning. They were messaging me in the morning, have we got our letters yet? Has our buddy replied to us yet? It would always be their Literacy Buddy letters that they would send back to me rather than their maths or something else.
Instead of face-to-face visits, with enormous cooperation from schools and workplaces, mid-year visits occurred virtually with the big and little buddies meeting each participating in show and tell about an item that was special to them.
I myself have found it really enjoyable getting to know my two little buddies, learning about their interests, I guess fostering those interests as well. It's been, both of my little buddies are really interested in science and both want to be doctors.
My favorite thing about Literacy Buddies was getting to know my buddy better. I really enjoyed sharing about my culture and my family celebrations.
I'm so proud of the ARDOC team of volunteer coordinators and the volunteers themselves that in 2020 we were still able to deliver Literacy Buddies to 36 classes and 845 students, all with thanks to the amazing commitment of our 648 workplace volunteers.
Before COVID-19 at the ASRC, we were running face-to-face English for Work classes and individual pathways to employment advisor sessions for people seeking asylum with low-level English. We designed a pilot program to conduct remote individual English lessons and employment advisor sessions. And the volunteers have been conducting creative, innovative, and personalised sessions with the students. The pilot's been so successful that we're now expanding the remote program so that we can support more students with their English and their job readiness skills through the ASRC education program.
A funny moment happened during the year when I was struggling to explain the meaning of some new words to my student. I was aware that she'd previously been a French teacher, so I decided to use my terrible French to try and clarify the meaning of the new words. She immediately corrected my pronunciation and assumed the role of teacher with me as the student. That hadn't been part of my lesson plan.
We currently have 95 volunteers working with us remotely since about March. We've had to make so many changes to the way that we've operated over that time, including transitioning to an entirely digitalised case management system, introducing new software to sign and send documents securely, as well as changing all of our legal appointments, obviously, from in-person to tele-appointments. And in addition, we've just had to increase the communications that we've had. So creating daily video calls, making sure that we have lots of check-in points throughout the day, and we're regularly updating people with program updates to make sure everyone feels connected.
I'd have to say the best thing about this program has been the opportunity we have to engage with our ASRC members. These are some of the most resilient and incredible people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and their determination in the face of what is a notoriously difficult and extremely frustrating process never ceases to amaze me.
Hi, my name's Fiona and I work in specialist clinics at Austin Health. I've been working with our telehealth service since we did our very quick rollout in March to minimise the foot traffic in our clinics as a direct result of COVID-19. We see about 280,000 patients every year, and to ensure that they continue to receive the best care and it's been fully accessible to them over the past 7 months, we've been offering the Health Direct video service.
The most important thing about the telehealth program is that it allows our patients to get access to care from anywhere.
This ensures that our doctors can continue to see patients who need face-to-face care without putting anyone at risk.
The best thing about the program is that it helps people, ordinary people sometimes challenged by technology, gadgets and internet applications. It helps them to conquer their ignorance and approach what could otherwise be a challenging appointment with confidence.
A lot of the times my patients tell me that they're working or that they're looking after kids or that they can't actually get to their appointment. So having that opportunity is incredible.
The best thing about this program is I think it helped a lot of people who were a bit worried about doing telehealth. They were really appreciative of when you did speak to them and you made them feel comfortable.
But it's been really important for us volunteers that are taking part in this. We're normally spending our time in the hospital, going up to people, talking to them, trying to help them. So in many ways, this is such a natural progression. And I know the days that I do it, I just feel very excited that I'm able to do this and have the connection with people.
Thanks, Tracy, and to all your wonderful volunteers who've made telehealth possible at Austin. We really do appreciate the support that your team has provided our patients and helping them get telehealth set up on their home computers so that they can see their doctors in specialist clinics.
Way back in March, we were just inundated with people wanting to support, which is just the most fantastic human reaction when there's an emergency. And we were able to garner that, and we made a really early strategic decision to gather these people. We weren't sure how we were going to be able to use them, but we wanted to make sure that we gathered them. And from that, we created a central volunteer bank. And some of these roles were things like essential driving, shopping, hamper packing, meal delivery, and a suite of virtual roles like tutoring, home inspections for pets that were needing adoption, welfare calls. There's just been so many positive outcomes.
We had organisations coming to us who wanted to allocate their workforces. They couldn't pay them anymore. They wanted to allocate their workforces to volunteering. We also had agencies who rose to the occasion to think about how are we going to continue to provide essential services without the volunteer workforce that we had.
It's created opportunities for people to contribute through volunteering, and for a lot of people it might be something new. And I feel like then and as we move forward, that's a really crucial part in the recovery process. It's really natural human instinct that people do want to assist in times of crisis, and the centralised volunteer bank and the work that Eastern Volunteers has done is really enabling people to do that.
I'm hopeful that we'll come out of this a lot stronger than we were before. I'm also really hopeful that the members of the community will even be more enthusiastic about volunteering in the future.
So I'm really hopeful that this has transformed really the thinking in the sector about how we utilise volunteer workforces.
Hi, I'm Shani. I'm FareShare's Garden Program Manager. The most difficult thing that's happened this year is we made the decision to suspend our garden volunteers when the stage 4 restrictions came into place. But we're looking forward to welcoming them back soon so that they can harvest all the beautiful veggies that they planted.
My name's Bruce, and the best thing about the FareShare Garden program is the amount of vegetables that we produce with volunteers and under the management of Shani. And all these vegetables that just have such a need for the community, and they get back to FareShare Kitchen, and it's incredible, just the logistics of it all and just how it all gets through to all the needy.
Hi, I'm Cricket Desher. I'm Kitchen Manager, the Abbotsford Kitchen, and we've got beautiful cauliflowers here that have come from our gardens. Without our volunteers in the gardens, we wouldn't be able to pick all this beautiful produce, which just gives so much nutritional value to our meals and gives us the capacity to cook more meals than we ever have in these kitchens in such hard times. This year we've had to cook twice as many meals, and that means twice as many vegetables. So the kitchen gardens have been an integral part of the preparation of our meals in our FareShare Abbotsford kitchen.
What makes me keep coming back to FareShare after all these years? Well, in our community, food insecurity has always been a problem. In the FareShare Kitchen Gardens, we grow solutions to that problem. Everything we grow makes a difference, and for every year that I've been involved, it's been worthwhile, and nobody thinks that's a bad idea.
I would like to thank the volunteers who have picked all this cauliflower, broccoli and pumpkins. We wouldn't be able to cook the number of meals without them. Thank you, the garden volunteers.
As a result of COVID, PANDA was really able to step up and meet the needs of our community, and we were only able to do this as a result of our volunteer contribution. We've had a 150% increase in the number of hours that our volunteers have been able to provide support on our helplines, and that's resulted in almost 200% increase in the services that they've been able to deliver to community, which is just so fundamentally important to meeting demand.
I started working with these volunteers about 4 years ago, and I can honestly say it's been a real privilege to work with these mums and dads who use their own story to give hope and support to parents during this huge life transition. And just when I thought the team couldn't get any better, along came the challenge of a lifetime. When we decided back in March that the entire PANDA team, staff and volunteers, would move out of our building in North Fitzroy and work remotely in our own homes. But the attitude of the volunteers was amazing. It was, yes, let's do this, bring it on. And this huge transfer to remote working meant they had to set their homes up so that they could still provide private conversations with our callers. They had to figure out how their current laptops and computers were going to integrate with our own systems. And probably the most challenging of all was you're learning a completely new IT system so that they could make these calls but still stay connected and supported by their supervisors. They did all this with professionalism, enthusiasm and determination. And although there was some anxiety, as there was for all of us, we were up and running in a matter of weeks. Not only did they achieve this mammoth task and continue to provide the same level of service to our callers, but some of them even offered to do double shifts, which meant we ended up doing double the number of calls that we would normally do this time last year.
We've put in place ways to encourage and acknowledge the important contribution of our volunteers in the same way that we would our staff, to let them know how their unique contribution has really made PANDA shine.
I'm making this short video clip today in recognition of the fantastic work of the Vinnie's Youth in developing their International Student Initiative. A big initiative, new business model, new funding, and new recruitment of volunteers.
We reached out to many stakeholders, including unis, TAFEs, government bodies and international students themselves, to make sure that we were best supporting them and complementing other services that were available at the time.
We all know international students have been going through very challenging times this year, and many are struggling to get through their days. In the past few months, Vinnie's has done an amazing job in supporting international students. The organisations listened and worked closely with stakeholders such as university, TAFEs, private colleges and community organisations to provide students with support, particularly through the International Student Aid program.
I think a big highlight for me would be when we make calls to the students who have been successful within their applications for assistance. It's really important to St Vinnie's that we touch base with all the students and speak to them over the phone and not just send them an email.
And I think if I could tell these students anything, this is going to sound really cheesy, but it would just be that you are loved and you are cared about and you're thought about. And the Victorian community and the Australian community just broadly wants you to be happy and wants you to be safe.
To our Young Vinnies volunteers who contacted and successfully provided support to over 400 students during this time. They listened to their stories and accompanied these students through such a heartbreaking experience, giving them hope and friendship.
The devastation of COVID-19 won't be around forever, but the role our volunteers have played in providing a listening ear and a compassionate response will be a feeling not soon forgotten.
The GEM program offers mentoring to youth at risk and to vulnerable youth in our community. The mentors are positive adult role models who are able to help the mentee or the young person re-engage in their education or develop more confidence, build self-esteem, and try to get them to be more connected with their community.
I think the moment that stands out is when we
had to go into that initial lockdown, and all the planned mentoring activities and the match-ups that we had arranged couldn't proceed. Of course, the GEM staff were really quick to adapt and came up with initiatives to enable students options to continue with mentoring.
It all came to a standstill almost overnight, and fortunately, through to the GEM program, we were able to stay connected through WebEx, but also through phone calls, and really been guided through the whole process over the few months.
Without Karen, I don't think I'd be who I was today. She's given me a lot of confidence and has helped me put my 2 feet on the ground and get where I want to be.
Well, something I'm hopeful for is, I guess, that I hope my mentee gets on in life and makes his life a success. He's certainly got some challenges ahead of him, but he's got the makings of being a great bloke.
2020 was a year like no other. We'd barely come off the back of the horrendous bushfires that were in our area when we went into lockdown. Some kids hadn't even returned to school. It was a case of how we're going to keep going, and the GEM team got together and we come up with another number of different initiatives, online, WebEx, whatever, but the volunteer mentors were still able to meet with their young people. They certainly rose to the occasion and showed how resilient they are.
Hello, I'm Josephine Beer. I'm Manager of Volunteering at the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm one of the judges for the Volunteering Victoria State Awards. There was an incredibly high standard of programs nominated for the COVID-19 Innovation and Resilience Award. When the judges met, we found it really difficult to pick just one winner. Some entries were stronger in innovation and some stronger in resilience. As a result, the judges decided to split the award into a COVID-19 Innovation Award and a COVID-19 Resilience Award. It is now my great pleasure to announce the winner of the COVID-19 Resilience Award, and the winner is Gippsland Engaged Mentoring Program for Workways Australia, or GEM. The GEM program has demonstrated outstanding resilience in adapting the program to meet COVID-safe requirements and continue service delivery. This is especially notable as the program has met the dual challenge of the pandemic and the bushfires earlier this year. GEM have developed an impressive range of ways to keep mentoring pairs connected during this very challenging year. Congratulations to the GEM program, winner of the COVID-19 Resilience Award.
Hello, I'm Hazel, one of the judges and a previous award recipient. And it's my great pleasure to announce that the recipient of the award in the innovation category is Austin Health for their telehealth volunteer support program. Congratulations, Tracy and your team. Not only did you manage to redeploy volunteers, which kept them engaged, over 2,500 patients were able to benefit from this program and to attend their medical consultations with confidence. Well done.
The volunteer program at the ASRC is important, critically important, simply because without it we just could not deliver all of the essential services that we do for people seeking asylum in Australia in circumstances where often those services, or most often those services, just simply aren't available through any other channel.
Our volunteers used to start the day with a morning briefing with our CEO and volunteer engagement manager, where they would receive centre and program updates and have discussions about the refugee sector. To maintain this engagement while our volunteers were furloughed or working from home, We transitioned to running live streams, online Q&As, and also promoting alternative ways to stay engaged and active with the organisation through our weekly volunteer bulletin.
For National Volunteer Week, we produced a newsletter that had a thank you video from the CEO and staff thanking all our volunteers. We had a takeover of the ASR social media so that we could tell the world how amazing all our volunteers are. And we also had a virtual event that was all volunteers were invited to, and that was attended by the Director's CEO and Volunteer Engagement Manager.
Even though I haven't physically been able to go into the centre since earlier this year, I still feel so connected to the ASRC. They've done a tremendous job keeping us posted on what's going on, connected to our sense of purpose, a great sense of perspective and ideas for how to look after ourselves through the crisis. So thank them very much.
For our most vulnerable volunteers who we had to temporarily furlough, we stay connected digitally every fortnight, doing our old-fashioned Q&A volunteer briefings. And for hundreds and hundreds more, they adapted and innovated to provide remote health, legal, casework, counselling and advocacy support. I am so immensely proud of the bravery, the courage and the values of our volunteers.
The best thing about our tourism volunteers is their absolute passion for Melbourne and their genuine desire to want to help visitors have the best possible experience of our beautiful city. When you are in the company of our volunteers, you can't help but be inspired to want to see and do more in Melbourne.
I think the best thing about this program is that you get to work with amazing people coming in from all walks of life, having such interesting anecdotes and accounts of how a city had changed over 50, 60, 70 years, all from the time when they were just kids. So you get to learn a lot with these wonderful volunteers. Something I'm hopeful for is that one day soon we can get back to the gardens, the beautiful Fitzroy Gardens, and some sort of routine with our volunteer work. I'm really looking forward to catching up with my mates, whether they're staff or volunteers. And I'm particularly looking forward to being able to meet tourists again and talk to them about our lovely city.
It was great to be kept informed about the strategies and plans that the City of Melbourne are undertaking and intend to undertake as we come out and recover from the lockdown, and in particular its strategies for tourism and about how we as volunteers might be involved in that.
Knowing that the staff have had our backs, kept in touch, said, take care, talk soon, was true. You did. And very appreciative of helping us get through this awkward time. So thanks a lot.
Now, more than ever, helping visitors to navigate their way around and to feel safe when visiting Melbourne will be an important role for our volunteers when they return.
Volunteers are the heart and soul of the Heide Museum of Modern Art. We've got such a diverse range of volleys, but all of them share one thing in common. They have an amazing passion and a willingness to share that with everyone.
We are so very privileged to have such a wonderfully dedicated group of volunteers. We couldn't function without their amazing and unwavering, welcoming smiles and diverse skills.
One of my favourite memories with our volunteers this year was actually getting phone calls from them throughout the year, them checking in on me to see how I was doing, whether I was doing okay during the lockdown. It was really lovely, and I was reminded that my relationship with them was actually based on genuine friendship and affection.
The support and connection we've been able to maintain during this time, if anything, has brought the staff and volunteer team even closer together. I want to say a huge thank you to our volunteer team and say that we can't wait to have you back on site at Heide.
I deal with my volunteering as a celebration, so I get dressed every fortnight and go to Heide with a lot of excitement. I'm not sure about is it because the people there or the exhibitions or the garden, the cafe, the building itself. Everything about Heide makes it beautiful. And
the biggest challenge for me has been not being able to guide with the public and missing the public, missing seeing
Heide colleagues and fellow volunteers in person and not having that interaction with others.
I felt that the professional way the volunteer program is run and the interaction between permanent staff and the volunteers is always very, very professional and enjoyable.
The best thing about the volunteer program is that I'm able to pursue my passion for art, and when I invigilate, I'm amongst like-minded people.
I'm there for the long haul. I've been there for a few years now, and I'm certainly going to continue on. Heide, volunteering's great.
Volunteers at Northern Health are very important to us. They're part of our family, and we know that we are part of theirs. We've made sure that we've kept in contact with them, and they've kept in contact with us, and they know how much they're missed and how important they are to our health service.
During National Volunteer Week, we really wanted to make a fuss of our volunteers. So we made a TikTok dance, we made a volunteer song, and one of our former patients actually sang the song for us. We collected thank you messages from staff and put this into a beautiful, colourful booklet which we sent out to the volunteers. And that was really well appreciated. We organised for Peter Hitchener from Channel 9 to send a special thank you message, and the clown doctors even sent through a thank you message especially for our volunteers. We also drove around to our volunteers. We spent 3 days driving around delivering Years of Service awards to our long-term volunteers. We didn't tell them we were coming, and so we just met them at the doorstep, and it was a great surprise and was really well received.
One of the best parts about the program that we've found during COVID times has been our ability to connect with our volunteers. We've been doing daily updates for our volunteers for the last 7 months, and we've had some amazing content in there, from jokes to drawings to funny tales about things that have been happening. We've had so much feedback about our volunteer program and the updates that we've been giving to people. We've had some really, really bad jokes in there, normally that come from me, but we've also had our volunteers also be guest editors. They've been doing different topics, they have been doing different jokes, they've been sharing their life with us, and we've even been sharing our life with them.
It kept us in the loop, and I think that's important because we're all missing volunteering, we're all missing our friends of volunteers, we're all missing the patients, the staff. I'm really appreciative, and I know all the other volunteers are too.
Hello, my name's Kerry Uran, Executive Officer of Interchange Network and proud member of the Volunteering Victoria Board. I've loved being involved in the State Awards this year and reading all the fabulous nominations. And I'm delighted to announce the winner of the Support and Connections category is Northern Health. Congratulations.